case, Judge. The defendant lured the victim to an isolated area. Forensics connects him to the murder scene. Assault arrests and his reputation for violence. He poses a distinct threat to our community.
When you don't have a case, you argue reputation.
Could you ask Mr. Sklar to get his finger out of my face?
Both of you in...
Jeffrey Stahl?
Guys and Dolls was billed $15,000 at the beginning of the year. We got checks the next 3 months, $1,000 each. Nothing's come in since then. They still owe Mr. Gibson $12,000.
The payment stopped a couple of months before Mr. Gibson was killed. Did your boss usually take out a lien when someone owed him money?
Only if they gave him a hard time. You know, as a last resort.
Him for the work.
No, I'm getting to that. We made several...
That's not what his secretary says.
I don't know.
He hasn't paid. And I'm sure his widow could use the money.
We plan on paying her in full with interest. Now, does that answer your questions?
Let me see if I understand this. You're in financial trouble. You pledge it to get Sean Russo out of prison.
I explained that in court.
Your explanation makes even less sense now than it did then.
Well, maybe it'll make more sense coming from my attorney. We're done here.
My partner told me you were snooping around. He doesn't even want me speaking to you.
By not cooperating, you only increase our suspicion.
For God's sake, we are just a couple of businessmen trying to make a living.
You own a strip club.
Do I look like some degenerate, Miss Carmichael? I would have rather bought the Blue Note. It wasn't for sale. Jeff talked me into this.
Did he talk you into co-signing Russo's bail pledge? If there's anything illegal going on, unless you do a better job than he did, we're putting your business under a magnifying glass. You're being extorted. Is that why you put up the building?
Here. Gibson did some work for one of Dominic Russo's underbosses, Vincent Carpignano. Gibson put in a sound system in Carpignano's house in Staten Island.
Carpignano. I don't remember him being in court to pay homage to Sean Russo.
He knew Gibson. He knows Russo. It's worth a shot.
I hired Donnie because of some work he did in this club I managed.
For Dominic Russo?
Hey, that's all behind me now.
We're not interested in Dominic, Mr. Carpignano, just his son.
Pee-wee, I call him. That's not a term of endearment.
We noticed you weren't in court for him.
If Pee-wee whacked Donnie, good luck putting him away.
Did he have anything to do with you leaving the business?
You might say that. I remember Dominic telling me one day, Pee-wee became a made man. I was sorry to hear that, I told him. You should have put the kid in a real business like I did with my boys.
Did Dominic know Sean was shaking down Guys and Dolls?
You think Donnie could mention his government friends to collect the debt?
What are you saying, Jack? That Stahl and Wilder panicked and ran to Russo?
If I'm wrong, they can tell me why.
Jury will see right through.
Clients aren't legitimate businessmen. It's just a matter of time before we turn up
It's prosecution.
Not if Donnie Gibson threatened to take it to the feds. It's a motive for murder. Complete cooperation against Russo, we can offer him manslaughter in exchange for his testimony. And Stahl won't cooperate.
Progress on the...
From the car-dragging murder. This should be pleasant. You convene a grand jury.
Our investigation was in the works long before Russo murdered Gibson. But you want first crack at him? I can wait.
That's refreshing.
Makes my life easier if you convict him. Loosen him up for a plea on my racketeering indictment. Just keep me in the loop.
Not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but anything less than a murder conviction against Russo, Gerbitz looks like he's cleaning up our mess.
You're getting the hang of this, Abbie. But it's not going to happen. Stahl might change his mind about cooperating once he knows his partner gave up the store. It's simple, Mr.
Stahl been cooped up for a week. They're on pins and needles.
They'll be fine once they take the stand. Did you prep the forensic witnesses?
Last night, strippers coming in this afternoon. Carmichael. Bob Gerbitz, he wants to talk about Russo.
Now?
Art just called me with the last-minute jitters. He's desperate to cut a deal for Russo on my racketeering indictment.
How desperate?
Russo's prepared to name enough names to put what's left of his view about. To get Russo to sign off, I need you to get on board.
On board what?
Let him plead.
I'm dead to rights on murder one. Let me convict him for...
Jack? This. Gerbert's just filed a racketeering indictment against Wilder and Stahl.
Draw the indictments against Stahl and Wilder.
I can't do that.
If it wasn't for them, Russo wouldn't be talking to you about cooperating. As soon as they became targets, you should have given me a heads up.
A professor who might have killed a student, who might have found errors in his work.
According to the cops, Dr. Clemente has a chip on his shoulder the size of a boxcar.
Not good enough. Getting calls from the border regions, worried parents, places a tinderbox.
Well, the cops couldn't find anyone else with a grudge.
Clemente says he didn't have a grudge.
What else would he say? He was the last one to see her alive.
Scotus said early on.
The cops asked him for a DNA sample. He refused.
Did he have a reason?
Outrage. Could be he did it. Let it go just because he's screaming racism. Could she have found errors?
He's a murderer?
I'm asking if they were romantically involved.
I heard she was pregnant, and I'm not sure that Miguel has anything going on south of his brain. He probably hasn't even noticed that his wife left him 4 years ago.
Not exactly well-rounded.
He lives entirely in his head. You've no idea how brilliant he is.
A second-year grad student found errors in his work.
There are maybe 24 people in the world who can follow Miguel's reasoning. I doubt Sarah Kincaid was one of them.
She questioned his conclusions. What would his reaction have been?
It was unpredictable. He might have given her a tongue lashing, or he might have calmly explained his reasoning. You can't think he killed her over that.
You're the first person I've found who defends him.
Miguel had to kick down a lot of barriers to achieve what he's accomplished. I know there's more to him than that arrogant facade.
Nobody has a clue if Clemente and Sarah Kincaid were an item.
Small community, hard to believe they could have achieved total discretion. How about her questioning his work?
Well, one of his colleagues said his reaction would depend on his mood. Everyone else said he'd rip her a new eye socket.
So you have two contradictory motives, and not much evidence to support either one.
Well, there's no other suspect. Unless it's some maniac striking randomly, and Skoda ruled that out.
Skoda's been wrong before. Dr. Clemente's attorney filed an order to show cause. Claims we've been harassing his client. I'm having a hard time disagreeing with him.
They've suspended him from teaching classes.
Why? There's no evidence. He hasn't even been charged.
Carmichael. Yeah, I'll be right there. Briscoe and Curtis have a witness who can put Clemente in the library.
Yeah, it was that Wednesday night when the girl got murdered. I saw Professor Clemente storm into the library. He looked mad enough to, well, to kill somebody.
Where were you?
At a table in the main reading room.
What time did you see him?
Somewhere between 10:30 and 11.
Are you sure it was Dr. Clemente?
Oh, yeah. I have to sit through his incomprehensible lectures twice a week. Well, not anymore, I guess.
Was he alone?
Just him and his ego and that black coat he wears everywhere.
Where did he go?
Upstairs. Didn't he?
Why didn't you come forward sooner?
I went camping.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. We'll be in touch. How many did you talk to who knew him by sight? Arrest the genius. At least now we can get an answer to the paternity question. Clemente has a short fuse. They had at least 2 screaming arguments, and he was there. Might as well answer the question, Dr. Clemente. They're running the test now. She just tore apart your grant proposal.
She was wrong.
And you're sure it was the Tuesday, not the Wednesday?
Well, yeah, it mean that he didn't do it.
Not necessarily.
Most of the girls are so frightened that they've stopped coming here at night. I was hoping that the arrest would bring everything back to normal.
No, it was that Wednesday.
A couple of hundred people in and out of there that night. You're the only one we can find who saw Clemente.
Over.
The librarian says it was Tuesday that Clemente came in. You thought. Helps if the information is accurate.
Here.
I've Dr. Ramesh Kapoor in Calcutta. He says she was very bright, but not bright enough.
DNA results. Clemente's not the father.
We're only left with Skoda's opinion. Someone who felt close to her.
Let's see if the lab can tell us anything about the real father yet.
DNA test pegged the father as having Greek ancestry.
Pretty specific.
He has a blood disorder. Beta thalassemia. Only occurs in Greeks.
There's no obviously Greek names in the case file.
Thank you.
Do you know anybody that might fit the bill?
Why?
So hard it's gonna start bleeding soon. Who?
I told the police I was with my friend Peter Kelly.
She was going to have the baby.
You got it all wrong.
Comforted her by knocking her up. You were worried she'd tell your fiancé about your relationship and screw up. Think you're a little tough on him, Jack? Other patrons don't remember seeing either of you. I'm going to the grand jury this afternoon. I wanted to give you...
No, this isn't the man I saw go into the stairwell.
Did you see him at all that night?
No. What happened to the case against Dr. Clemente?
Sometimes our first indications point in the wrong direction. Have you remembered any details at all about the man you saw, Professor Crow?
College polo shirt.
College? Living room. I showed Professor Crochel's yearbook picture and he ID'd him as the man he saw go into the stairwell.
Did you talk to Kelly again?
No, I think we need to discuss a plan of attack. Kelly must have witnessed the crime and now he's protecting Michaels.
Michael sleeps with his fiance's roommate, kills her to keep her quiet. Why would Kelly cover for him?
Well, they're in the same graduate program. They're supposed to be best friends.
That's some friendship.
Damon and Pythias.
More like Leopold and Loeb.
Well, maybe we can nail Kelly as an accomplice, get him to roll on Michaels.
Kelly was in and out of the stairwell in a matter of seconds.
But if he watched it go down and didn't do anything about it, he's as bad as Michaels. Was sleeping with your roommate also just a mistake? Think about it after it happened. Peter Kelly is covering for him. Why would a witness put Peter Kelly in the library that night?
Dennis.
You can't honestly believe we'd do that. The Slater. She says you'd lie to protect your friend.
I've told you.
Pretty thin, Jack. We had more than this on Dr. Clemente.
So,
Kelly's figured out we've got nothing. He's better off hanging tough. Kelly's father posted bail.
Let's
strangle that girl. All he did was turn and walk away.
If that's what happened, it's still not a crime.
Hell of a moral lapse. Can't we find something to nail this guy with?
Not in this state.
I'll call Kelly's lawyer.
We're cutting Kelly loose.
We'll plead to murder too, 20 to life.
Sarah Kincaid's father's looking into a wrongful death suit.
It'll be to make it constitutional.
At least Hudson University's settled down. Dr. Clemente's back on campus. Peter Kelly's been expelled.
What does he care? I'll probably go into the family business.
Well, as long as it doesn't require a conscience.